Welcome to The Explainer. So, have you ever wondered why some brilliant, seemingly unstoppable businesses just suddenly fail? Well, today we're going to dig into that, and the answer, as you'll see, often comes down to one critical mistake: building a business around a person instead of a process.
It all starts with this incredible story, a concept from African agribusiness they call the stupid farm. In this quote right here, it just hits the nail on the head. The farm didn't actually know anything. The institutional memory walked out the gate with the manager. Think about that. The farm's most valuable asset wasn't the land, it wasn't the fancy equipment. Nope, it was what was inside one guy's head. And when he left, poof, the asset was just gone.
And that really brings us to the big question for today, right? Why do these seemingly successful businesses just suddenly collapse? It's not always about a bad market or a faulty product. So often, it's something quieter, something internal. It's like a tiny crack in the foundation that nobody sees, until one day, the whole thing just comes crashing down. Okay, so let's give this thing a name. We're going to call it the indispensable expert trap. And believe me, it's a hidden danger that's lurking in way more businesses than you'd think. Here's the really crucial idea I want you to get. Most businesses, they aren't actually businesses, not really. What they are is a fragile system that completely depends on one single person's knowledge. I mean, think about it. If your company would fall apart if your best employee walked out the door tomorrow, you don't own an asset. You own a really high-stress job that's completely tied to someone else's brain. Let's make this super concrete with the story of FarmX. So you have this manager, right? 20 years of experience, a total expert. Then suddenly he dies, and all that knowledge, everything about the soil, the crop rotations, all of it was in his head. Nothing was written down. So the new hire comes in, completely blind, and applies the wrong fertilizer. The entire crop fails, and just like that, the farm is gone. A complete collapse, all because the knowledge was never captured. So this probably has you wondering, right? How do you know if your business is a ticking time bomb? Well, the first step is to actually measure its fragility. We need to figure out just how vulnerable your own farm really is.
Software engineers have this, well, it's a fantastic, if a little morbid way of measuring this. They call it the bus factor. And the question it asks is brutally simple. How many key people on your team would have to get hit by a bus before the whole project just completely fails?
So for most small and medium-sized businesses, what do you think that number is? Go on, take a guess. It's one. Just one. A bus factor of one. That's a single point of failure. It could be the manager, the founder, that one indispensable developer. If they disappear, the whole project, maybe even the entire company, just grinds to a complete halt. And it's not just a hypothetical risk. Investors have a very real financial term for this. When they're looking to buy a business, they actually calculate this and apply something called the key person discount. What that means is they will literally pay you less for your company because it relies too much on one person. That's right. Your hero employee, the one you think is so valuable, is actually costing you money on paper. And look at the numbers here. They really tell the story. A business running in what we'll call hero mode, totally dependent on one person, might get valued at, say, 1 to 2 times its profit. But a business in system mode, where the process is the star, that can be worth 4 to 6 times its profit. That's a huge difference. You're not just building a more stable company. You're building real, tangible, sellable value. Okay, so we've spent some time really defining the problem. Now, let's get to the good stuff. The solution. How do you fix this? It's all about building your farm's brain. And that means making a really critical shift in how you think, moving away from relying on people and toward relying on process. So to get there, you first have to understand that there are 2 kinds of knowledge. On one hand, you've got tacit knowledge. This is all the stuff that's just in your head. It's that gut feeling, that intuition, that hard-won experience. It's super valuable, for sure, but it's really hard to pass on to someone else. Then, on the other hand, you have explicit knowledge. This is the stuff that's written down. We're talking manuals, data, checklists. This isn't just in someone's head. It's a real company asset. It's easy to share, easy to transfer, and easy to scale. And the process for turning that in-your-head stuff into on-the-page stuff, well, there's a model for it called SECI. You can start with socialization, just watching an expert do their thing. But the absolute most critical step, the real magic, is number 2, externalization. This is that moment where you force the expert to actually explain why they do what they do, to get it out of their head so you can write it down. Once it's written down, you can combine it with other written knowledge, and eventually new people can internalize it until it becomes second nature for them. So what does this look like in practice? Well, here's your basic toolbox. We're talking about creating standard operating procedures, SOPs for short. You want to build what you could call a farm Bible, one central playbook for how your business runs. You need simple, actionable checklists for everything. And you need a way to learn from mistakes, which actually is our next big topic.
Right, because it's not enough to just write everything down once and call it a day. The world changes, things happen. You need to build a culture where the system is constantly being updated and improved. And the best way to do that? You have to learn how to turn every single failure into precious, valuable data.
Here's a great way to think about it. In business, you basically have two models for dealing with mistakes. You can be like the old-school healthcare model, where mistakes get buried, people get blamed, and that knowledge is hidden away. Or you can be like the aviation industry. In aviation, every single error, every near miss is published and analyzed so that the entire system gets smarter and safer for everybody. We want to be like aviation, no question. And the tool you use for that is called the blameless postmortem. It's a simple process. First, a mistake happens. Okay, rule number 1, and this is non-negotiable, no one gets fired for it. Instead, the team gets together and asks the 5 whys. You just keep asking why until you dig down to the actual root cause. And here's the most important part. You fix the process that let the mistake happen in the first place, not the person who happened to be there when it did. But okay, I know what you might be thinking. What if your expert doesn't want to share their secrets? This is a huge problem, sometimes called the tribal knowledge barrier. See, the old way of thinking, the old incentive, was to hoard your knowledge to protect your job. So we have to flip that on its head. The new incentive has to be the exact opposite. You don't get praised and promoted for being the only hero who knows how to fix the broken pump. You get promoted for writing down exactly how to fix the pump and then teaching 3 other people how to do it. All right, so let's start to bring this all together. When you really pull this off, when you successfully make this shift, the system itself becomes the star of the show. And that, right there, is how a business finds true freedom and, you could even say, a form of immortality. And the perfect example of this is what I like to call the McDonald's test. Just think about this quote. McDonald's does not hire 5-star chefs. They hire teenagers. The system is the expert, not the worker. It's so true. A burger tastes the same in Tokyo as it does in Lagos. Not because of the workers, but because the process is the superstar. The system guarantees that consistency and quality every single time. So I want to leave you with a challenge. It's the ultimate test for any founder or manager. I call it the Fire Yourself protocol. It's dead simple. Step 1, do a task. Step 2, write down exactly how you did it. That's your first draft of the SOP. Step 3, give that document to an employee and just watch them. Don't help. If they fail, it's not their fault. It's your SOP's fault. So you go back and rewrite it. But if they succeed, congratulations. You are now free from that task. Forever.
And the payoff for doing this, for going through this work, it is absolutely immense. We're talking about real scalability and consistency, a way higher valuation for your business, the chance to build actual generational wealth, and maybe best of all, real freedom from the day-to-day grind. You finally get to own an asset instead of just owning a really demanding job.
Which brings us right back to where we started. With this powerful idea, institutional memory is the only form of immortality a business has. Build it. So the question I want to leave you with is a simple one. Are you building a business that can outlive you? Or are you building one that's going to walk out the door the day your best person decides to leave?